To hit this golf ball solidly, we need to know a couple things about irons. We're going to talk about irons here and their playability factors. Not all irons are created the same. Some are easier to hit and some are harder to hit. So let's first see what it takes to hit a ball solid. They have a golf ball right here, and in this golf ball there's a center of gravity or a balance point, and it's right in the middle of the golf ball. Now, I have an iron head right here, and I've pre-marked the face. And I have a dot on it which tells me where the center of gravity is located in this iron head. Well, to hit this ball solidly and get that perfect, wonderful feel that we're all looking for, I want to swing down with this iron, and when it contacts that ball, I want the center of gravity horizontally to line up with the golf ball center of gravity, and I want the center of gravity vertically to be below the golf ball center of gravity when I strike it. The lower I get the center of gravity of the iron below the center of gravity of the ball, the more solid the hit. Now, it stands to reason certain golfers are sweeper swingers, where they come in with the club head horizontal to the ground. Well, you need a lower center of gravity to hit the ball solid if you're a sweeper. Then there are people that hit down and through it. They can play with a higher center of gravity if they want to, and they can drive the center of gravity of that club head below the center of gravity of the ball. So, the center of gravities are a mass property, and they're also a dimensional property of the iron because they're located in some certain location. So let's do this for a second. We're going to have to talk about a few different things to fully understand playability factor in irons, but we now know what creates a solid hit. How do we go about getting that? And I've been in this golf business for 40 years, and the last 30 years owning my own business, done hundreds of designs, and also I designed for 11 other different major companies. So I learned a lot. Thousands of hours of testing on machines, player testing, tour testing, and being out and letting tour players hit everything. You need all these types of tests, and also lab tests in the golf club design studio that I'm sitting in right now. Let's take a look at a club right now and see how we go about this so you can understand a little more about mass and dimensional properties of an iron head and what makes one play differently from another. On the screen here, I'm in a wonderful CAD program that I use, CAD-CAM. CAD is computer-aided design, CAM's computer-aided machining, manufacturing, whatever you want to call it. Here's an iron head that I did, and we like to design using 3 different planes. We design the face of the club, the hosel of the club, and the back of the club separately so we can move them around and do things to get all this mass distributed correctly, if you will, within the iron head so that we have high playability or whatever playability we're looking for. You're building a classic muscle back iron, you can't get playability as high as the moon, but if you're building a cavity back, longer blades, you can start getting really high playabilities, wider sole widths. So here's an iron design, designed in CAD. Well, I want to know how this thing's going to play, so I need to build one. So we're going to make one right here, and we're going to build it out of a 16-pound block of mild steel. So here's my design of the face. So right now I go into my verification program, and I go up and I click cut, and now you're seeing it cut on the screen. And what I'm doing is doing the first program, which is the face of the club. And I'm now going to put the radius in that goes into the hosel. I'm putting the face lines in. The next program is to go ahead and put the hosel in. The next program after that's to put the back in. So as you can see from this block of steel, there are a face program and a hosel program already cut into it that are our start. Next we'll do a back program, but we'll do that later on, and that's not part of this discussion. But from this discussion, what it means is we need to know where all the mass is distributed in that club and our moment of inertia of the club, our center of gravity locations. So let's go on to the next step. This is the prototype head that we just designed in CAD on the computer. We machined it in that Verify program to check it out, and we also machined it out of a 16-pound block of steel. So our prototype's sitting here, and it's on a center of gravity tester. I want to find out the center of gravity location so I can actually calculate it and find out where it's really located in this one little pinpoint somewhere within or outside the head itself. So I use this center of gravity tester. I've got a Sharpie pen that goes up through a hollow point. You can see the iron is balancing on the tester. So I use my Sharpie and I go up and I make a mark in the face. Now I have the center of gravity location from toe to heel, or the horizontal location, and I also have the basic vertical dimension of center of gravity. So I can put this in my digital height gauge, and I can run the needle in and it'll tell me this exact center of gravity height where it balanced on the face. My next step is I can balance it on the sole of the club because I need some more measurements. So I use the same center of gravity tester, balance it on the sole, and now I end up with a dot, and I end up with my rearward center of gravity location. So now it's a matter of taking some trigonometry and going ahead and calculating that exact precise point where the center of gravity is located, which is a very key point in playability factor. Another mass quality of the golf club that's very important in Maltby Playability Factor is moment of inertia. We've seen it in all the ads in magazines, manufacturers tout it all over the place. Well, moment of inertia is very important in putters, irons, woods, every golf club in your bag. So here's basically what it is. Take a look at this machine. It's an aerospace machine. It measures moment of inertia. The iron is up on top and it's rotating. What that machine is measuring is that club's resistance to going in the opposite direction, or how high the moment of inertia is. So what that means to you is that on off-center hits, when you're not hitting it right on the middle of the face where the center of gravity is, you're going to get a more solid and a more consistent shot more of the time. In other words, instead of a toe shot going into the bunker, you might possibly get it over the bunker and onto the green. That's a high moment of inertia. A low moment of inertia just makes it more unsolid more of the time unless you're hitting it right on the center. Watch this demonstration and this will help, and you can do this and actually feel high and low moment of inertia. Here's two wedges. I'm going to put the heads in to the center of the apparatus that I made up here, and I'm going to spin it. And it spins quite easy. Very low moment of inertia. Easy to do. Now I'm going to take and reverse the heads, and I'm going to put them to the outside. And now I'm going to grab on and I'm going to spin it, and wow, is this tough to do. It almost wants to break my wrist. This is a very high moment of inertia. The whole mass doesn't want to go in the opposite direction very well, so that'd be great in our iron set. So what I basically did is take these mass and dimensional properties of the club head and came up with Maltby Playability Factor. And what it tells you is this: the farther out I get the center of gravity horizontally from the center line of the shaft or hosel, the easier the iron is to hit. The lower the center of gravity is in the head, the easier it is to hit. And that's basically Maltby Playability Factor. Now, keep in mind, and there are six categories, excuse me, of playability factor. Player classic, classic, conventional, game improvement, super game improvement, and ultra game improvement. So those categories will help you, and all these heads behind me have been put into those categories. Some of these go back to the 50s, but it's mostly all the modern era heads. And playability factor basically will tell you the winners and losers in the marketplace. It's very consistent on that. So we keep it up to date, and people can look up and see what the playability factor on certain heads are. Now, here's what playability factor won't do for you. Playability factor, as I said, is the mass and dimensional properties of the head. It predicts and tells you exactly how solid this thing will be on off-center hits or playing and hitting balls all the time as you come into impact with the club head. It doesn't have anything to do with the shaft. You need to go in and get a proper fit from an individual. You need to get the lie set right. You got to get the right shaft for you, the right length, the right grip size. All these are very important. So if you take Maltby Playability Factor, and then you take the proper fit from someone that really knows what they're doing, then you get this so-called dynamic playability, and you can go out and play better. It's a great way to figure out which head design is going to do the best for you.